The term opportunity cost is the key to understand comparative advantage. Opportunity cost is the cost of passing up the next best choice when making a decision to produce any goods or services. Simply stated, an opportunity cost is the cost of a missed opportunity. Applied to a real business decision, opportunity cost might refer to the profit a company could have earned from its capital, equipment, and real estate if these assets had been used in a different way. For example, suppose you earn an amount of 100,000 RMB as a year reward from your company. You can either use the money to buy a car or to go for traveling abroad for a week. In this case, either choice you missed makes an opportunity cost. Well, let's look at another example. Mary has $13 and has the option for either buying a music CD or a pair of shoes. If she goes for the pair of shoes, she does so by giving up the opportunity cost of buying the CD. And hence here, in this case, her opportunity cost would be the CD. However, if she chooses to buy the CD, she does so by giving up on the opportunity of buying the shoes. And hence, here, her opportunity cost is the pair of shoes. It's not so hard to understand, isn't it? Different from absolute advantage, the theory of comparative advantage holds that trade is beneficial to both countries, even if one has an absolute advantage in the production of both commodities to be traded. Given any two products, a nation has a comparative advantage in the production with the lower opportunity cost. The theory of comparative advantage was introduced by English economist David Ricardo. He believes that even if a country is less efficient than another in the production of both commodities, there is still a basis for mutually beneficial trade. The theory can be illustrated by the following example. In this example, nation A obviously has absolute advantage in production of both cheese and wine. Nation A is 2 times more efficient in production of cheese than nation B, while 9 times more efficient in production of wine. Thus, nation A has more absolute advantage in production of wine compared to cheese. So, if trade takes place, nation A will tend to produce more wine as wine is relatively cheaper in nation A than in nation B. Then, what about nation B? According to the theory of comparative advantage, nation B should expand its production of cheese, as the cheese production in nation B is relatively less costly. In order to help you better understand how the concept of comparative advantage might be applied to the real business world, and why countries benefit from it, here I'd like to show you another example of 2 countries producing 2 goods, motor cars and commercial trucks. From the table, we can see that, using all its resources, country A can produce 30 million cars or 6 million trucks, and country B can produce 35 million cars or 21 million trucks. This can be summarized in a table. In this case, country B has the absolute advantage in production both products, but it has a comparative advantage in trucks because it is relatively better at producing them. Country B is 3.5 times better at trucks and only 1.17 times better at cars. However, the greatest advantage and the widest gap lies with truck production. Hence, country B should specialize in producing trucks, leaving country A to produce cars. The theory of comparative advantage suggests that if countries apply the principle of comparative advantage, the combined output will be increased in comparison with the output that would be produced if the two countries tried to become self-sufficient and allocate resources towards production of both goods. Taking the above example, if countries A and B allocate resources evenly to both goods, the combined output is cars equals 15 plus 17.5 equals 32.5. Trucks equals 10.5 plus 3 equals 13.5. Therefore, the world output is 32.5 plus 13.5 equals 46 units. On the contrary, if both countries specialize based on their comparative advantage, the world output would be cars 30 plus trucks 21 equals 51 units. Hence, world output increased by 5 units under the principle of comparative advantage. However, the principle of comparative advantage can be criticized in several ways. First, it may overstate the benefits of specialization by ignoring a number of costs. These costs include transport costs and any external costs associated with trade, such as geography. 2. Complete specialization might create structural unemployment, as some workers cannot transfer from one sector to another. 3. The principle of comparative advantage is derived from a highly simplistic two-country mode. The real world is far more complex, with countries exporting and importing many different goods and services. 4. Many countries strive for food security, meaning that even if they should specialize in non-food products, they still prefer to keep a minimum level of food production. 5. Comparative advantage is not a static concept. It may change over time. For example, non-renewable resources can slowly run out, increasing the costs of production, and thus reducing the gains from trade. Countries can develop new advantages, such as Vietnam and coffee production. Despite being a long history of coffee production, it is only in the last 30 years that it has become a global player, seeing its global market share increase from just 1% in 1985 to 20% in 2014, making it the world's second largest producer. Despite these significant criticisms, the underlying principles of comparative advantage can still be said to give some shape to the modern world business, even if it is becoming less relevant in a globalized world and in the face of modern theories.